Hi, I'm Vince Hudson, author of Date Like a Brand. I'm here finishing out the triad of the quiet truth.
Yeah, man.
My purpose is to show love winning because people don't see enough examples of love winning. They see a lot of love losing. If we all get our source right,
Get that source right.
we all get our alignment right,
Yes, sir.
we get our partnerships right.
What do you do to ensure that you're set to make sure that you can let love win? Because that's a battle. That's a journey.
Yeah.
Even though love already won, by the way.
Okay, cool. We're rolling. I.E. lead us in, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. There are things we all know, but rarely say out loud.
Because the hardest things to say are the easiest patterns to repeat.
I am Enitan Bereola II, cultural architect, best-selling author, and co-founder of St. Miles.
And I'm Martin Ekechukwu, knower of all things. Entrepreneur, investor, founder of What Works. and this is
The Quiet Truth.
I like the timing on that.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Y'all have that down pat.
We got that down, man. So every week we sit down with cultural architects, leaders of the new school and the cool kids to discuss what most people won't.
No doubt. And today we have the most incredible Vince Hudson with us today.
I'm not a leader of the new school.
I mean, listen, we can be
I'm
leaders of
old
old school.
school.
We can
Okay,
be that.
leaders of old
Listen,
school.
What is old school, man? They call me Unc. I'm 43. I look 21. But they do call me Unc, and I feel a certain type of way.
I
Like,
love
what
that
is?
I'm 43, I look 21. Is that self-proclaimed?
You are not 43.
Well, now
I
people
do
tell
get
me
that
say,
feedback.
I got
Not
carded.
43. Shut
I got carded, and sometimes I forget how old I am too. Is it 41, 40? I gotta ask my wife. But yeah, man. I mean, look. I think we're at a time where we're just getting started, man. You know what I mean? We've learned a lot on this, like through the 20s and 19s, and now we're kind of like level set. We know what we want. We're more clear. We're just getting started.
Right. So, age is relative. I think in your 50s, I'm post 50 now, so I'm almost through my midlife crisis, but I'm on the other side of it now.
What does that look like, by the way? Because I guess I'm gonna enter it. Like, what is the?
And you don't know
what do I need to
exactly
look
how
out
many
for?
years yet, because you don't know if you're 41 or 42 or 43. But in about 7 years, you're going to start to ask yourself, am I where I want to be?
I'm actually asking
When I
myself
was
that right now.
when I was 10 years ago, you're asking yourself right now.
Yeah.
You can enter it early, but don't stay too long. Don't stay 10 years in it. It's a
Yeah,
phase, so you got to
yeah.
get in it and get out of it.
Yeah. And
But you ask yourself, where I thought I wanted to be when I was 25, when you're 20, when you're 30, you still say, oh, I got time. That inflection point will come. When you're 40, oh, I got time. The inflection point will come. When you hit 50, you're like, I don't have time. That inflection point might not come. Like, I may be where I am.
And I think
Right.
that's where most of us are. At least I am personally. I'm like, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not bad. It's like I've got more growing to do. I've got more things to do, but I'm still curious as to what should I be doing, because I'm not quite sure what should I be doing. I know things I have passions around. I know things I want to focus on, but I'm like, is that gonna give me the big check?
Exactly.
I don't know.
You got passions, you got purpose, and you got paper.
Paper.
Right, yeah, I like that.
Passions,
3 Ps.
purpose, and paper. It's a new
it's like,
3 Ps, right?
Can I get the
And
big
when
check from doing this? I
there's
don't
a-
know, but
it's-
maybe. But
Yeah.
It's
all
a
good.
guy.
We gonna get a check from this.
Yeah, no doubt.
Am I getting a check from this?
You gonna get
Okay,
it.
I know.
It's-
I'm a
it's-
guest, so
I mean, but you once we hear your story, you know that you know what you're doing in the space.
We'll
You know what I
see,
mean?
we'll see,
The
we'll
media
see.
man, media maven.
No doubt.
We'll see.
I mean, so listen, we wanted to go ahead and just jump right in. We're so excited to have you here, Vince. But I really want to, first of all, because we like to talk also about current events, and we don't want to dwell on it too much. I certainly want to call out the fact that a conservative political figure, or sometimes maybe not necessarily political figure, certainly conservative figure, was killed. Charlie Kirk in Utah. I don't agree with the killing of anyone on either side, or the murdering of anyone on either side of political views. Doesn't necessarily matter to me. Words are words, and they are harmful, but they should never end in loss of life. And so I wanted to certainly say that we should be all very mindful of how we talk, mindful of things that we say, mindful of our actions. But because we are people, we're empathetic, we have feelings, but at the same time, we should never get to a position where we're now hurting each other in some way. Because there was the Minnesota congresswoman, I want to say, and her husband that were murdered. There was the attempted assassination of governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro. You know, you had Nancy Pelosi that her husband was going after. It's like
Donald Trump,
obviously assassination attempt. So it's like we should not be in a place right now where we are having to experience this and normalize this, because I feel like all of us are like living in a real life Call of Duty or like a real life Squid Games, and I don't like it here.
You mentioned the word normalized, and it was a bit shocking to me in a way that my daughter was the first person to tell me about it. Wow. So I'm picking her up from volleyball practice. I'm at her volleyball game, and so she comes out and says, "Did you hear about Charlie Kirk?" I'm like, "Who's Charlie Kirk?" He's not in my algorithm.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
And so when she said, "Oh, he's an influencer, politician, and you know, all of my friends are tweeting about it," and so. But it was very normal. It wasn't the fact that a person died. It was who he was and what was there about him. But a person got shot violently. Yeah. And it's just, you can't let that be normal. The bigger picture is always life is precious and encourage debate. And when you think about what we went through as a culture in the 60s, there were a lot of people with polarizing opinions. Yep. And we wouldn't want anything happening to them. And so it's just... You know, you always have two different worldviews, but what I like about at the best of times, we're talking, we're communicating.
Yeah.
We're arguing, we're debating, but we're not killing.
Yeah. And I hate it for the wife and the kids. I think he's got 2 kids, all under the age of like about 6 or 7, you know, something like that. Age. So, and they didn't ask for any of this. They're going to miss their father, and they're going to grow up to the father. So no matter what, because you never know, Charlie could have changed his views in 5 years or in 10 years. He could have like had an epiphany and changed some whatever. Who knows what it was?
Many people in the 60s changed their views.
Changed their views, exactly. Like militant people all of a sudden became not that. So it's like I want to certainly call that out. So
prayers to the family, to the land, and also it's 9/11 today, so certainly want to just. You know, we're in New York, so just kind of pay homage and say, give a shout out to the families and the loved ones and all those who stood strong in these times, and you know, pay our respects to those who fell as well.
So that was the second question my daughter asked me. Where were you on 9/11? I guess that must have come up in her school, and we hadn't talked it yet because she's 14 now, so. Now she's asking different questions.
That's what I have to look forward to.
You have to look forward to it for sure.
Where were you?
Oh, I got other stuff I can tell you got to look forward to. You got a girl, too?
I have a baby girl. She's 5 years old, and I got a 9-year-old son.
I have 3 girls. I can tell you a lot, especially 12 to 14.
Well,
man.
I'm in the 14 to 20.
Yeah. See, I could get advice from you.
29.
I can get advice from you.
No, don't come from me for advice.
Where were you on 9/11? Just fact, real quick.
So,
you remember?
Cincinnati, Ohio, getting dressed for work at Procter Gamble. Saw one plane. When I looked at Today's Show, which I always watch, it was just smoke coming from the tower. So I immediately assumed some crazy, person driving a farm, plane runs into the tower by mistake. Yep. So I continued putting my clothes. I guess normalizing it. And then the second plane hit, and everything dropped. Yep. And I'd stayed in my bedroom, watched television all day. It was, P&G locked it down, and everything changed.
I was in Houston, Texas. I was in pharmaceutical sales. I was working for Merck Pharmaceuticals. I was in Sugar Land, and I just got the shower. Actually, just got the shower. Had the towel on, walking by, TV's on, news is on. There's a Today Show. Actually, same thing. I was watching Today Show, walking by, saw it, and I saw smoke from. I was like, oh, that's crazy. It must have been like a freak accident, some sort of like a bomb or something inside of the building, but it's gonna be okay. And then I was sitting there watching, and then I caught the beginning and the end of I was like, wait, hold on. This is crazy. And I literally stood there in front of the television the entire time. And then we have like this end board, this curved end board. I just leaned on it, sat on it, and sat back further and just stayed right there.
Wow.
I did not move the entire time that I was there. And then crazy enough is that my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, was in Wall Street, and it was he was in his second year of business school. So I thought he was just finishing up because they go into September sometimes. So because he wanted to extend his internship at JP Morgan Chase, and so he's like, "Yo, I'm going to be here, Twin Towers, the whole 9 yards." He was actually working there over the summer, and so it's crazy.
Man, I was a just beginning my sophomore year. I was 19 years old at Florida A&M University.
Oh,
Shout out to
HBCU.
FAMU. Yes, sir. Yes,
Right.
come on, man.
Dillard University.
All right,
Come on.
Dillard.
Sorry.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's good to know. And man, my homie called me and he was like, "Yo, turn on the TV." It's like, "What?" So I turned it on and I'm like looking at the news, and then you see the second plane hit, and I was I think Aaliyah recently transitioned, or it was around that time, and those were the big news stories of the day, and we just kind of of the time, we just kind of like coalesced as a university. I think the university like shut class down, and we all went to like a homie's apartment. There were like probably, I don't know, 15 to 30 of us in there. Just, it was like this family moment. You're in college, you get with your people, you know what I mean? And I'll always remember that, man. We all connected, and we're fresh from home, all the way from California, and realized like, oh, we have family here for real. So we were really tight knit, kind of just collected our thoughts and gathered that day, and we ended up watching like some comedies. I don't know if it was Friday or something, to kind of just like have some levity in the day. But blessings to all of you who survived and all of you who fell.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's jump in.
Yes.
So, we love to talk about the quiet truth and things that are not being said that should be said, and are said in text messages and group chats and everything else, but we don't necessarily have a chance to share them publicly because of whatever reason. So we try to have those conversations. So I have a particular position, not necessarily sure, E, if you fully believe it. Vince, you might actually have an alternative
What's
position.
man? What you got?
My position, my quiet truth is that corporate America does not love us. Right? It does not love us.
Who does corporate America love?
White people. I mean, so my whole thing has been, I can literally, and I've had 15 years within corp. I've done all the work, I've done all the brand roles, and I've done everything at the end of the day. And always it's happened that I get overlooked for the promotion. I get overlooked for this. Or situations, we want you to come in and be a change agent in the company. Come in and make the moves and be the change agent. And you're like, bet. That's actually great. I can come in, I can actually have impact within this role, impact within this position. And they're like, no, that's too much change. That's you're going a little too far. Wait, so a partnership with SoundCloud is too far? Wait, what are you talking about? How's that too far? It's like, oh, doing a festival and sponsoring a festival might be too far? It's like, oh, okay. It's like literally like every single thing that you're doing, but someone could walk into the right room with the right GM, with the right VP, with the right whatever, and next thing you know, they're now your boss. You're like, whoa, what just happened? So that's my quiet truth. But the other side of it is that I don't think that there are enough people of color within senior executive roles that are, while they're there, they're holding on for dear life. They don't always pull people up.
Yeah.
That's my position.
Yeah,
I think this is for a lot of things in life, and I think it's for corporate America too, is that inertia is the most powerful force in the universe. And corporate America, if you think about when it was built, there was no corporate America in agricultural times, right? You had industrial age, and all of a sudden these corporations came. And the corporations, because of what was happening in society, they looked a certain way. And that was the inertia that they started with. And so it takes so much to change that, because people only do what they know and they repeat what they know and that they're familiar with. And so a lot of that's it's natural. Now then you have the influx of people like Ross Love was one of the first black leaders that came into Procter Gamble. And it was just it was a person at each company maybe back in the 70s, 80s. And then I think, again, you said they were there, but of course, their ability to even pull people up, and Ross did, is limited because there's a cost of being there, I think, which is you get the ticket, but don't push the ticket too far, right? And I
think that's my point, right? Is like you finally, and unfortunately, I believe that this is a mentality that sometimes we have as people, is that we're just so happy to be in the room. We're happy to be there. We're happy to play ball. We're happy to be in the same conversation. We just finally we got chose to be in the executive room with all the other people, and it's like, yeah, we're letting you in, but just sit down and just shut up.
Yeah.
Be in the corner, just hang out.
Yeah.
Like we just want you to listen, and if you have a couple things to add, cool, but don't make waves. Don't add to the mix. Did you find obviously you were a Paramount, BET, different beast. But once you stepped out of it, what was it like on the tech side?
Well, I think I've contrasted first to early days starting at Procter Gamble. Okay. And we had an organization called the Black Advertising Leadership Team. And that organization was there to support each other and had strong support from leadership.
Like ERG?
The ERG group, before they were called ERG groups.
Okay.
Right? And so we felt like family. And so that group, those bonds that were made, we're still there now. Everyone's in different places. Not many of us are still there, but wherever we are, we're keeping that bond together. What I think with the latest, if you will, there's not that sense of kind of community. People are spread too thin, and so I think it's just it's without that sense of community, it makes it hard to get collective kind of support.
Yeah.
So like, here's where I'm curious, because you went to an HBCU, so I know something about you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I mean, we got the best band in the land at FAMU, but I know that Dillard
I used to believe it was Grambling before I was from Shreveport. So,
but I mean, Grambling definitely gets down, but I know you got it in you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I know. What's the origin story that kind of led you to your trajectory? Like, what was childhood like? Like, kind of start from a point where you can take it from the earliest point that leads to this point to today, so we could have a breadth of who you are. Because the follow-up question is going to be, how do you navigate corporate America? Because it takes like a different version of yourself. Sometimes it's exhausting, right? Sometimes you come home and you're like, man, you got to take off the mask and all the things that you have to show up with. And code switching can be exhausting, right? So just kind of like, what's your trajectory to the point where you are?
Yeah. So in order to talk about the current, like me, I have to go back not just to my childhood, but to my parents' childhood. So both of my folks were raised in North Louisiana on plantations where their job was, their family was picking cotton for the plantation owner. It's called sharecropping. And so from that beginning, somehow they were about the oldest sibling of each gender in their family. So they somehow found their way, went through high school, still picking cotton after school or before school, and went to Grambling University.
Okay.
HBCU.
Nice.
So then from Grambling, they met, they got out, got married. He went to the Army, came back. They were teachers. He became a principal. She became a counselor. So I always looked at really two things. Their trajectory from picking cotton on a field to being some of the most esteemed educators in Shreveport, Louisiana, at a time where there were no black people in leadership positions. So I think my dad was like the second black principal in Shreveport.
Wow.
And my sister was in the first class of people that got minority to majority transfer, so integrating the school system.
Wow.
In that way. So with that, I always grew up like, well, one, I got to, what is my leap, right? Growing from where I grew up, what will I try to achieve? So it was always a lot of internal pressure, and not from my parents, just from me on, if they did that much, what do I have to do from where I am, right? And so I think the other thing that it taught me, though, is I went to my dad's school. I was he was my principal, my whole elementary career, right? Wow. So I was the principal's son, which one meant when I acted up and cut up in school, I would go to the principal's office, and it was corporal punishment. Then it was actually a paddle. So I would go get the paddle.
I got the paddle
from
too.
my own father and principal. So he got me at school,
Arkansas,
and would get me at home too. Right? I got it both ways.
You had to go home and pay for that too.
Sorry, Mr. Principal, sorry, Dad.
Wow.
But that also I saw a black man in a leadership position with mostly white school teachers and faculty my whole early childhood. Wow. So to me, that was a rare picture, but that's what life was going to be. Right? Now I got out of that, and I found out that wasn't life just doesn't walk into that. That was a lot of work that he did behind the scenes that I would never be exposed to, that allowed him to make it to that position. And so, and now I look at in corporate America, it's making it to certain levels. Because I had that group of people and connectedness at Procter Gamble, I always look for other people that are more junior than me and senior than me to connect with, whether it's a formal ERG or not, to try to figure out how do we help ourselves become our best selves. Right? And it doesn't just take if it's only one or two, you can't. That sometimes the network is just not big enough. You have to find strong, white mentors, men and women, because you'll never make it past a certain level without that. So when I got to my brand manager promotion was due to my mentor. He was my manager. And your best mentors are people that you've worked for. You've done things with them, for them, and they know that you're proven. And when I was at P&G, someone told me, my previous manager said, well, do you want to be here? I said, where, in this office? She said, no, at P&G, like at the company. And I was like, yes. And then it hit me later that there was a question like, we may not want you to be here. And so I was put on a performance plan. I needed to lead the thinking more. And so I got mentoring from people around me, turned that around. And then Kirk Perry was the president of, he was a brand manager of the brand that I was working on, NyQuil. And he tore my past performance review up and he said, hey, I want to see you be a brand manager at P&G. That was 26 years ago. And career has changed ever since. But it's things like that don't happen probably often enough.
See, I feel like there's so many things that you just said I'd love to unpack, because I see these stories happen for younger brand managers of color that have now performance reviews because they don't necessarily meet some expectation from someone else, right? So when I was at Bacardi, I was a senior brand at Bacardi, had a couple directors I was working for, and then she wrote me this long performance review, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense, what you're saying, because I know that I'm doing these things that you're asking me to do. And so I had to literally beat it into her that I could do that work. And so every single day, to the point where I got mad petty, and I got petty in me.
I think you got to clarify, beat it into her, just so that just for the record. So you don't want it to be.
Pause.
You know what I'm saying?
But I remember a particular moment. There was a line in there that strategic thinking. I was like, hold up. And then she was like, usage of research. I was like, hold up. It's like, fine, I got you. We had something we had to do, and I created a 45, 50-page deck that was so detailed, so in the
without
weeds.
AI.
Without AI. Straight up. Just ground up, pure research. I did all of it, conclusions around the category, yada, yada, yada. And we were going through, we were like in page 30. And she's like, I got it, Martin. I'm not done. We're continuing. I'm going to finish this thing because I want to make sure that you're clear that I know how to do this work, because I feel like you wrote this up in a particular way and I don't appreciate it. So I want to show you this stuff. So I was mad. So she's like, okay. I was like, walked all the way through. She didn't say nothing to me after that. But I'm saying it's like, and it's unfortunate because she's a classically trained Unilever marketer, classically trained, and I was not. I finished B school, went into automotive into brand into spirits, and my role was not to come in and be a Unilever marketer. My role was to come in and be a change agent. So how does one cross those bridges to be able to prove to those that come from a very traditional standpoint that you have what it takes when they're looking for you to be in a box? You're like, I can't be in the box.
Yeah, is it like this? Do we have to code switch? Do we like what are and I think even more, how do you even with adding to this question, like these days?
Yeah, it's in a way it goes back to what I talked about with inertia, but I think at the core of it is like people, like you said, change agent. Now it's a quote somewhere around. People want the change agent until they try to change stuff, right? And then all hell breaks loose. So I think there is, behind every career, there's insecurity around losing that career, and there's safety in conservativeness and keeping things exactly how they are, because with change comes risk. So when you hire a change agent, you have to make it clear to everyone, and this has to come from upper management, that this will be at risk, and I'm willing to accept it as leadership. And until that happens, you will never be able to change, because change comes with risk. And I think that's that polarizing tension.
I mean, so there's also something I remember. Again, I've not had like a corporate job since like at least 2013. Yeah, so it's been a minute. But I used to speak frequent bullshit.
Yeah.
Like all the time. Like literally, that was something that you had to just get good at, because you need to be able to.
Is that the water cooler conversation?
Water cooler
Like, give me an
Now
example,
stop.
man. Like, what do you mean? Give me an example.
I mean, frequent bullshit is like you.
It's how's the weather?
How's the weather? How's the weather? How's your kids? How's this? And when I walk in, it's like, I don't care. I do not care about anything y'all are saying. And and my wife, it's so funny because I love people, yet I hate people at the same time.
Another
I do.
polarizing relationship.
I literally, I love being around people.
What's
but I'm
your
like,
Myers-Briggs, you know?
Say what?
You know your Myers-Briggs type?
I used to know.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually went through the whole thing, but it matched up.
Yeah,
It matched up.
Your E and I you're going back and forth.
Yeah, all
Sometimes
the
you're introverted,
time.
sometimes you're extroverted.
Really, it's like I'm introverted when I'm in a space and I'm like, I don't want to be around y'all because I got other things to do. And I'm extroverted when I'm like around friends, like people that I love and I'm close to. I'm all the way in.
Yeah.
But even then,
There's a limit. There's a limit.
my wife and I, we were out one day at I'm like, oh my God, I was at your party. We were at your party and we were there. My wife berates me about this. It was me, her, one of her friends, not your wife.
Yeah.
One of her friends, two of her friends were right there. And so I was there and I was talking. And then I was like, I'm good. And so
Ready to go.
I turned around and walked away.
I remember at the image, what was it, the Image BT Awards? We're at like the after party, man. And
Yeah.
we rolled in together and you and T just, I was like, where did he go?
I think I've seen Martin dip out
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
before.
I respect
like,
it,
where
man.
did Martin go?
I respect
was
it.
like,
I'm the same
dip
kind of
out
way.
because I was
but
like,
at least you know yourself. You know
I
when it's
know.
time to dip. Because
so she'll be here. You'll see her later on. But she was like, Martin, you just can't just be walking away. I said, but I thought the conversation was over.
But in my head, I thought I told people I was leaving.
I thought I told people that I was walking away. So I mean, so there's this whole thing, right? So within the corporate space, I'm always curious. Everyone has the full-time gig and has got like the side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really something that people really are focused on for long-term generational wealth, being able to balance the two? I know that, so I'd love to actually dive into what you're working on now, because I know that you've transitioned into full-time entrepreneurship, right? And building that up. But did you temporarily? But did you always have an idea that you wanted to execute that you felt solved the problem?
Yeah. So I'm kind of going back to corporate America. I think that I'm more comfortable with corporate America because I'm very, like, my nature is always learning from different people. Mm-hmm. And the way I grew up is an all black neighborhood. I didn't get to, and I went to all white schools, but I grew up in a all black neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So there was this always, since I could remember, this being around, going from one neighborhood into another situation and back to the neighborhood. And so I never really processed it as code switching because I was pretty consistent because that's all I ever knew.
Yeah.
Right. Now, of course, in my hood, I'm going to use some language that's different than when I'm in school. But so corporate America, for me, a woman came up and she was a mentee, and she said, but people want me to talk to them. And they're asking me questions about me. Like, that's not their business. And I said, true, it's not. But they want to know you. Mm-hmm. Like, they don't, trust me, they don't know anything about you. And some of them don't know anything about anybody that's looked like you before. Mm-hmm. So some of these questions are just, it's genuine curiosity.
Yeah.
So you don't have to give it all away, but give nuggets, give a piece of bits of information, because my side project I'm working on is this big love topic, and the first step in love, according to this other book, is knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so if we don't start to know each other, you can't eventually love each other. Not love each other like that at work, but you can't, like, get a brotherly love, if you will. So I think it needs to be, again, corporate America was this family-like, I won't say family-like because there were no women there at the beginning, right? It was a club. Right? So if you think about a club, it was literally like a club in the 60s.
Wow.
And I belong to a country club now. Like, the country clubs in the 60s were the same way. Mm-hmm. At the club, you share everything because you're a member of the club. That's what you do. Yeah. But now you got new people coming into the club, and they don't know that they need to share. Are they really in the club or not? And so I think a lot of this awkwardness is this club comparison.
So But what about the other side of it, which is like people come into the club and they're like, why are you asking these questions? Yes, that's fine. You want to get to know me. But at the same time, it's like, y'all like, oh, we don't know you. So we're not actually going to ask you no questions. Because
and that's the other side you get. So we'll just let you be in a box.
Exactly. Like, we don't know you. It's like, you can't come into the circle.
Yes. No, and that exists too, right? So because the club, the big club has a sub club in it. That's the VIP club, and that club is the one that's hard to break into. But to really elevate, that's the club you got to break into. And I think that goes back to your original intention, which is people are humans inside these corporations, and humans favor naturally. It's just favor people that are like them, and so it's hard to. We've had diversity training and coaching for 30 years, but it's hard. Inertia is very hard to overcome.
So what is this love kind of concept? Like, tell me more about that, because I have a feeling it came from your experience in corporate America, right? Like, is there a correlation between the two in terms of because it sounds like you have a desire to help people connect, right?
I think that's right. It comes really back the same answer I gave before from my parents. So
I
grew up in what was joked back then as the Huxtable household: mom, dad, sister, two kids, both educators, I guess it's middle class, or probably lower middle class, but with teacher salaries. But that really gave me an appreciation for the power of a couple and their children growing up in a loving environment. So I got out of that, and I figured, oh well, that will happen for me very easily. But when I got out, it's like, oh wow, you have to actually relate to this other person. They don't do everything they have to do in the relationship to make it work, but I'm doing everything I have to do to make it work. So I was like, it intrigued me. So I just started studying relationships and what made people act the way they do in relationships, studying why I acted the way I do in relationships. And it was just a passion. And I went deeper and deeper. And the women I work with, imagine my friends in Cincinnati, working in Cincinnati and being a black woman in Cincinnati, not having a lot of options, because it's not a lot of black men compared to like Atlanta.
Right.
They're asking me questions like, well, where do I go to meet men? What do I say? What do I need to do? Yeah. And I would talk to them in marketing terms because they were marketers. So I would say, well, first you got to understand your brand. What are your strengths? Ooh, so you can't. If that's not your strength, don't lead with that. That's please don't lead. That's like leading with your chin, right? Like that. And so lead with your strength, and those people that appreciate your strength, that's called your target. Right. Your target audience. They say, yeah, I get that, because they're marketers, and they started to then the light bulb went off. Oh, I have to treat this like marketing, and so this was 25 years ago. So the concept for the book was then called relationship marketing. Play on words, because there was a relationship marketing kind of industry, right? And it was marketing for relationships. And then it just kept growing and kept growing. I gave a speech on it at the Black MBA conference just to try it out. And I was with a psychologist, Dr. Brenda Wade. And I put together a PowerPoint deck on this marketing, relationship marketing, as crazy as it sounds.
No, I get it, man.
And
I get it.
People got it. Like the audience, and this was at the Black MBA conference, so I was preaching to the choir, people, marketers and audience, but they got it. And so people started coming back like, I tried this. It really helped. I'm focused on people who are focused on me.
So it was converting.
And I'm getting feedback that this stuff's actually working. I'm making this up. I mean, I'm just a marketer thinking it will work with relationships. But it worked more and more. And then so I was applying it. My friends were applying it. People were getting married.
Wow.
And so, but I couldn't write a book because I was single for a long time.
So you feel like that? You feel like that's one of the prerequisites to speak on relationships?
I didn't think so at first, but I was told.
Yeah.
that you ain't married. Yeah. You don't know anything about relationships. So, and you don't have kids. Yeah. So when I was, I'm at the Black MBA conference trying to meet potential wives.
Right.
So that didn't work. That didn't go over too well. Like me trying to, write a book on relationships and the power of love, but you're single.
I get it, man.
And without a girlfriend. So now that I've been married 15 years, I have 3 daughters. Time away from corporate America with where I found this window, I can push it out. Now I've renamed it Date Like a Brand. So
brilliant.
Everybody knows brands now. Relationship marketing is not even a thing as much anymore. It's influencer marketing now. But when I have walked around New York and I say, hey, because I'm really open. Like I said, I didn't have any problem talking to people in corporate America because I just walk up to everyone. And I'll go in Starbucks and just talk to the people behind the bar. Like, hey, I'm writing this book called Date Like a Brand. And my test was, did they get it from the title?
Mm-hmm.
And now, because everyone's a brand, they get it. So now's the time I think I can put this out.
So is it like, so for context, I wrote, I'm a very familiar space. I wrote 3 best-selling books all on etiquette and not necessarily relationships in terms of, romantic, but there was always a hinge of that. I really got, kind of cut my teeth on the whole relationship space. And I was initially, I guess what do they say? You're single till you're married, right? So I was, I was early. This is like 2000,
and sometimes single again.
And sometimes, so I was in this is like 2007, 2008, 2007 through 2019. Really, so I was on this train and touring domestically, globally. And the books became really popular, and the kind of conversation grew really popular.
Well, offline, I got to talk to you about best-selling books. Just coaching.
It was
my first one. So
it was a whole thing, and it was great, But obviously, like you said, there is an audience when I finally did focus on chapters dedicated to relationships or a full book on a relationship. The conversation becomes like, well, you're not married or you don't have any kids, but the evidence was like, but this woman I'm like coaching through divorce, or this man like this, there's evidence of people who got married from these conversations and have families, and you're seeing the goals realized. So I don't think I think sometimes people are gifted in spaces that they don't necessarily have to experience to glean the wisdom from and to be able to share that wisdom, right? Like, yes, you have people who are married who can't give advice. You have people who are not married that observe their parents or observe society and really have an opinion, right? Or maybe have studied the space.
It's an unfair bias. I think you have some of the best coaches that have never played the game of basketball.
Exactly.
Great coaches.
Yeah.
But I think
out of shape and everything.
But there's still exactly. And so I think there's still this bias, probably even amongst the players. Like, you hadn't been in where I've been.
Right.
You haven't been on the court. You haven't had been pushed around by Barkley in the paint.
Right.
So I think there's a bit of that, but you overcome it by effectiveness. For
so
the
sure.
fact that the stuff works.
It works.
That keeps people using it.
Well, I think that level of confidence also helps to deliver your ability to deliver the message with confidence.
Right.
Yes.
Also helps to get you there. Because right now, if you think about how people are getting all their information, I know nothing about molecular biology. I do actually, but most people don't know about molecular biology. And they're on there talking about, like your man RFK talking about you can see people with mitochondrial issues for walking through the airport. Like, you know nothing about this topic, yet you speak with so much confidence around it now. So I feel like pretty much anybody can say anything within the space and you'll believe them because you're saying it with so much confidence.
Oh yeah, confidence is a killer, man. But so for Date Like a Brand, so typically brands present their best assets, right? Like, it's like, you're showing everything that's great, but you're not hiding anything beneath the surface that it can potentially be destructive, that you may not like. How are you kind of communicating that comparison in terms of like that brand relationship and that romantic relationship?
Yeah. So I think it all starts with, as you said, most people when they hear Date Like a Brand, they think of the analogy of, I can catch me some fish. I'm gonna catch a guy. I'm gonna catch a woman. That's the first. This book is gonna help me catch my mate.
But isn't like that the point though? That's all we want anyway.
That is the point. But the first person that you need to apply the branding principles to
is you.
Is yourself.
Because if you go catch that fish,
please,
bro, once you get the fish, because people don't just like really talk about, we marry strangers, right? Like, we date strangers and we marry strangers. You're getting two people together who have different backgrounds, different experiences, different worldviews, maybe some similarities, but ultimately these are two different human beings attempting to become one.
Yeah.
What's your position on, like, someone told me years ago that a marriage was a business decision, right? That it really is.
I think, damn right.
Yes,
I say it's a
started.
business decision, but that's oversimplifying it.
Yeah,
but when you think about it as a business decision, if you think about the most important question you ever have to answer in your life, to me that is, which path do you follow? Who's your source?
Yeah.
What guides you? What's your higher light?
1000%.
Most people don't start there and get that clear, but I think we got to first start there.
That is the beginning of the conversation.
And that will make that will make the biggest difference in how your life turns out, because that's how you define success.
1000%.
The second most important decision is, after you figure out which path you follow, who you walk the path with.
Man, you see, this guy's
Right.
right. That's my type of guy right there. I
So-
say the same thing. Who you
Exactly.
believe in,
Who you believe in.
and who you marry, or
That's-
something. And then, like, if you decide to have children, those are the three
Exactly.
most important decisions.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So we got to, what path are we following?
Yeah.
So brands have brand purpose, right? That's your higher why.
Yes.
For us,
yes.
we have a brand purpose. We need to figure it out.
Yes.
So my brand purpose, I was working on the CoverGirl brand purpose, and this was mid 2000s, and so it's like an archaeological dig. You have to figure out where that brand came from, what the founders' intent was, and you look at all the early advertising. This is what I do. This is the most.
I mean, you got my I love this.
So then we go into the background of CoverGirl, and so it was the first brand that brought makeup from in the studio to everybody in the convenience store, in the drugstore. So when we put all that together, the brand purpose was CoverGirl exists to allow every woman to be a CoverGirl, and picture herself on magazines and things like that. So it was democratizing beauty.
Right.
So I do this for brands, but I had to do it for myself. So I went back to my beginnings and like, what were my founders trying to teach me? My mom and dad always said to my sister Mona and myself, remember who you are and remember whose you are.
Oh, man, come on, man. That's
is that HBC
my
or
father.
your father said? Oh, wow.
I have that. Like that is like number one, number two guiding principle. I tell my son that all the time.
Family doing that.
My father always says to this day, well, he's transitioned, but I hear him, I still hear the voice, remember who you are and whose you are. Remember whose you are first, and then who you are. Bereola is a child of God, and you're a Bereola. You come from a long line of these, right? So it's a very important thing.
We met for a reason, and we're not going to talk about the dads because mine's been too recent, so we're going to.
Yeah, man, you don't want to say this waterfalls, but mine's
Yeah.
recent as well. So recent enough, and my mother's. God, I love both of y'all.
But the point is, so when I was doing this archaeological dig, it was those conversations with early conversations with my mom, and what did they talk to me about? My mom had books everywhere, right? So, and I would always like just check them out. I think she strategically would put books, a certain book when I was going through a certain thing, like just out for me to find it. And she pinned
like a
things on my
parent.
walls, like, the Desiderata and, footprints. They were like stuck on my wall in my room. And so when I did my archaeological dig, my purpose was to show love. But then when I looked at, what I wanted to do in corporate America, there's a way to manage by fear, and there's a way to manage by love. And I saw so many people lead by fear.
Fear, yeah.
And it's effective for a while. But
Yeah.
then every once in a while, you'll see people lead through love. And people do things for them, but they go beyond because of the love intent versus just the fear, which is as soon as you're not afraid, you go and do what you want to do as long as you're not looking. That's fear. So I said I wanted to show love winning. So my purpose is to show love winning.
That is
in
good.
corporate America, with my brands, with my marketing teams, with my family, with my wife. And if we can show love winning, more people will want to go down the path of love because people don't see enough examples of love winning. They see a lot of love losing.
Man,
Some of the stuff we talked about with current events today, that's love losing.
It really is love losing,
Man,
man. I feel like we forget about how much love needs to be at the center of the things that we do. Whether it's love for each other, as brothers, as colleagues, as friends, as people of color, and understanding the tragedies and also the excellence that we also come together with as well. It's so unfortunate that we forget about that. We get stuck in the muck, and I think unfortunately, social media does not do us any good.
That's why I tell you not to spend so much time on that thing, boy. I tell you to take a little
double-edged
break from
sword.
that
It's
joint.
a double-edged sword.
It is.
It can bring people together, but it can also keep people in echo chambers. But it is, it goes back to if we all get our source right,
Get that source right.
we all get our alignment right,
Yes,
we
sir.
get our partnerships right,
Yes, sir.
then everything else will be. Social media has issues because we have issues,
Man, if you don't speak on it,
right?
it's like we point these fingers.
because we got street. We
got
issues.
3 pointing back at us, right?
right,
It's
yeah.
like,
Exactly.
we're a reflection. We're a victim of our sin. It's not like God is doing something. It's like like humanity is. You know what I'm saying? Like we've created this cesspool, and I really love your thesis, man. Like letting love win, with, you know, the news that we started with, right? Like with the world that exists at scale outside of these walls and these windows. Like, what do you do? What is your process? For instance, in the morning, even this morning, man, I'm like, I have a process. I'm like, usually read my word, read the devotional, talk to God, like reset before I enter the world, because the world's goal is to like take everything from me that is true. As soon as I open my phone, it's like, you're this, like trying to strip you of all of your truth and your identity. Like, what do you do to make sure that, you know, like the coach needs coaching, the therapist needs a therapist. Like, what do you do to ensure that you're set to make sure that you can let love win? Because that's a battle. That's a journey. Even though love already won, by the way. Spoiler alert.
A long time ago. Exactly.
Spoiler alert,
So,
it is written.
You said, I wish I had your morning routine. I envy it. My morning routine starts with the alarm clock going off at 6 a.m. and my wife saying, time for you to go wake the girls. and it's not just one, it's 3 daughters. And each has a different way that they like to be woken up. Or actually that they don't like to be woken up. And so I have to, remember that and figure out, okay, here's what I'm due for Olivia. The light doesn't go on, but the light goes on for Ava. She actually likes 2 lights on.
Bruh, your daughter's name is Ava.
Yeah, no, not yours.
My daughter's name is Ava.
Cosmic. It's cosmic.
Come on, brother.
All right, HBCU and Ava.
What is happening right now, man? You know the meaning of her name?
Is it something to do with birds, right?
It's like
flying.
It's like life, like live, like it's. I mean, I'm sure there's several definitions. Like a reminder. Our reason was like it's a reminder to live life. Like it's like.
No, that's perfect for Ava.
Yeah.
She is living life. She's the middle child, so
wow.
She is.
Ava.
She has to deal with both sides.
Okay,
right?
go ahead.
Yeah, three daughters. But so my morning routine, I wish it was more spirit filled. It's more just stuff filled, for lack of a better word.
You gotta get them out the house.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
daughters are full of love.
Yeah,
so you connect with
daughters are full of love.
Yeah.
Have yours turned 12,
I got
13?
one. Well, no, she's still 5.
Don't 5. They're full of love.
Please don't tell me that it's gonna get worse.
5. Oh, 5. Oh, 5.
That's my
I had
girl.
5, 3, and 1. Oh, Daddy's a hero.
yes. Oh,
Daddy's a hero.
it shifts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I hear it, but don't tell me.
I went from hero to you're here.
Oh gosh, I
What
can't.
So
I can't
today,
deal
right,
with
so
it,
I
man.
go today. So I meet this guy outside of their school. So
I can't deal
sitting
with it.
outside of school, and so I see another brother there. So we all naturally say hi, introduce each other. Same school that Martin picks up outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, I haven't seen you before. So he said, oh, I'm new here. Our daughter just started. And I said, oh, okay, got it. So I said, well, I'm surprising my daughters because our au pair is in the car, and so I'm gonna surprise my daughters.
My man
He
said
said,
au pair, by the way.
They're
just
gonna
me.
be. That's a whole nother story.
Man is doing well.
East Coast. We didn't have that in Louisiana. So the guy says, they're gonna be so excited. I was like, your daughters obviously are 12, 13.
Were they embarrassed when you
I said, when they come, I'm here to surprise them. They will be surprised, but they will not be excited.
they'll be
So,
surprised, not
and on
excited.
cue, my daughter, 14-year-old, she walks out, and she's with her friends, and I'm like, Olivia, and she looks over at me. She's like, hi.
Oh man.
I said, Olivia. She said, I gotta go to practice, but now she's with her friends.
Oh, why did I don't know why?
So, but that's just what they go through. But it's I've learned to accept it because I've been reading Disney character books about princesses. So here's the thing. So when you read any Disney character book, is the king around?
No.
Never.
Kings usually
You see them 1 or 2 times, if
dead
anything.
or missing, right? Now Moana, her dad was around,
That's my daughter's movie.
but she ran away.
Mm.
So he was around, but she had to run away from. So
Interesting.
Disney only
They-
reflects life, right? So
Interesting.
when girls go through puberty, I think that everything goes back to evolution, which ties back into the inertia. They have to let us go. See, when we're the love of their lives, which we are. We're the love of their lives. At 10 and like, oh, my daddy's my hero. He's my guy. You're daddy's little girl. But you can't be daddy's little girl
Yeah.
and the princess that is getting saved by the prince at the same time.
Mm.
So you have to take that uniform,
Wow.
tear it up, burn it up, step on it, burn it, and put gas on it in front of your dad because he needs to know that now you are ready to go and move on and have be a part of somebody else. Because evolution, when you were 13 and 14, you were getting arranged to be going to another family.
Yeah.
And you were about to be having kids in like 2 years, before 20.
My heart is cracking.
They're still on a timeline biologically. We're on this New York timeline. Oh, my girl, go to the shops, go to the movies. They're on a different, the timeline change. So that once I got that explanation, then I said, oh, got it. I have to let her grow up. Yeah. She can't be daddy's little girl. So now I'm like hanging out with my, 10-year-old more because she's still daddy's little girl. But I know that too is going to.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I've settled on the fact that parenting, and I had to settle on this before by taking inventory of my own journey and paying attention to how I treated my family. Like once I hit teens, how I got, I had an attitude, and then once I got to college, I remember calling my mom and just like. I was like crying on everything you said was just, I hit her out of the blue. Everything you said was right. I'm so sorry for all of the things. She's like, it's okay, Ton. But parenting is like this contrast, this duality where at the same time that, well, let's just say from the moment that they're born, that grip that you have, every single time, like as seconds pass, you were loosening that grip. Yeah. You're loosening the grip, and eventually, not like eagles. I mean, eagles kick their young out the nest, like right on day one, like figure this out. But for us, man, it's like I'm aware that I need to, at the same time I'm holding the hand, I also need to be letting it go. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And when they'll come back, you're always a parent. Once you're a parent, you're always a parent.
The good news, just like you wrote your mom that note you called her, the daughters come back. So it's a phase they go through. Yeah. And once they're comfortable establishing this independence from my father, being daddy's little girl, then they're like, okay, he's cool. He's good. He's good again. Because I'm doing my thing. So I hear it's a phase. I haven't seen the other side of it yet, but people with older daughters have told me that.
Absolutely going to
come.
Train up a child in the way they should go, and they will come back, return.
You mentioned something before, and you've been really insightful, but you talked about whose you are. Yeah. And so my parents were talking. I literally was saying whose you are. Mm-hmm. It was my parents. But as I got older, I think what they were subliminally telling me was, what source do I belong to?
Yes.
So what is it? Khalil Gibran, he's a poet, gifted poet, and he has a poem about kids. He has a poem about everything, marriage and all this stuff. But he has his poem about kids says something around the bow and the arrow. So I think the parents are the bow. Mm-hmm. So we can just help aim the arrow, but the arrow is not ours. We're sending the arrow back into which it came. Mm-hmm. And so the kids are our arrow. So we can hold the bow, but we can't hold the arrow. So that grip is not the arrow. We can grip the bow, but we have to let them become themselves because they're going to have to connect with source on their own. We can't connect. We can try, but we can't connect the source with them. Yeah. Which is a whole different story about how to instill, like church. Where are you from originally?
From the Bay Area, Oakland, San Jose. Bay Area. Okay.
Yeah. So church for us was a given growing up because
same here. My dad was in the minister.
My dad was singing in the choir. But when you're in a city where it's soccer at 2:00 on Sunday, what do you mean? If she wants to play, you got to be at soccer. You got lacrosse.
We in that right now.
It's a whole different world. So I'm trying to how do I instill spiritual, guidance and practice, and there's not a process and so when you get here, especially in New York, we get invited. She got invited to every bat mitzvah, I think, in New York, right? And these huge celebrations. And I think that's interesting because, again, it's the same time period that we were talking about before with women. But they have a ritual to follow in the Jewish community and a rite of passage that we just talked about it happening. They have a rite of passage that connects them to the religion. But in Christianity or even in black culture, there's not something that forces us through a gate of connectedness or a checkpoint and say, hey, you're about to grow up. There's some things you ought to think about. Yeah. There's not a gate. We don't have that checkpoint.
You know what I do that worked for me? My dad would make us, he'd pray on Saturday mornings. He'd wake us up early, Nigerian father. He'd wake us up early, and we just have sleep in our eyes. We're so irritated. But as a man, I know what he was doing now because I do the same with my kids. Not every Saturday. I'm not forcing, I don't force anything on them. But he allowed us to have entryway into his life. You know how some parents are like, this is an adult thing. You kids go over there. He allowed us to see and observe. And see what that means for ourselves. Like I would always say to people, like my faith has nothing to do with nothing to do with my faith isn't because of my parents. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna be hanging onto their leg when they're going up. You know what I'm saying? Like, hold on, wait, let me in. I'm coming with you. It's an individual experience and relationship. And with my kids, you know, I like if I'm in prayer, bro. I'd say like, yo, turn off the TV. We're gonna pray. Sometimes throughout the day, Randy, I'll just start praying, and my son will just he now knows, so just kind of close his eyes, I'm just like, maybe something came on the news, or I see the other day there was an ambulance going across the bridge, and my son was like, yo, Dad, there's somebody that's getting. I was like, did you say a prayer for them? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, let's pray, and we just like lock it in, and it's normal to him. It's normal to my daughter, and now they exhibit the behavior. Because they're connected, I feel like, in ways that they're like fresh from the source, so they're more connected. They haven't gone through the experiences of life to get that residue on them. But I let them see me walk out my faith in real life. Mm-hmm. So if I'm broken, you know, my parents transition, they got to see me weep. They got to see their dad's heartbreak. Mm-hmm. When I'm celebratory, when there's a win, they get to see what that looks like. More beyond the celebration, like me giving thanks, right? They got that oil on the head every night. You know what I'm saying? I pray with them every night, even when I'm away, out of town. So they get to kind of see it in action and not know that it's like some sort of mystical, weird situation, but this is actually how we live our life. And you get to see why. Like I'm calling things out when a miracle happens or when something happens, or now my son can kind of relate, and he knows the distinction between. That's God's work. You know what I mean? I mean, he catches me staring out the window looking at a bird and being like, that's amazing. Isn't anybody else missing this miracle? Exactly. Yeah, like I stare, let's go look at the sunset, son. Like, isn't that amazing? We're on this ball that has to be so perfectly tilted on its axis. And if it just stops spinning for the smallest millisecond, then we would all implode. Like, can you believe that all these miracles, like how does your body work? What is air? Like we have these conversations as a child because it's like, how do you get used to these miracles? You know what I'm saying?
And I think that is, I think having that open relationship
Yeah.
and letting them learn through experiences is a different way. It's not in church every Sunday.
Yeah.
Talking to them about God's, grace sometimes and the just awesomeness of creation. And
it's
all
amazing,
this just didn't come about, from nowhere.
Dude,
you don't get something you don't find a clock wound and running this perfectly that just built itself, right? And so you're forming when you're you said your son?
Mm-hmm. Well, both of them. Yeah.
When your kids go back and they do their archaeological dig through their childhood on finding their purpose.
Yeah.
These are the memories that you're forming, that you're building with them.
That's the whole point.
That's going to be what guides them.
Because I remember.
And we've both been through loss of parent, and birth of child. Mm-hmm. And I was with my mom a couple of weeks ago, and we were, I was teaching her how to putt a golf ball. It was a golf ball. It was on her carpet in her. No, I didn't get her to the golf course, but in the den that I grew up playing in as a kid, and I was teaching her how to putt, and she was enjoying it. Oh, she made her first putt into a cup at the end of the carpet. And then I've done the same thing with my kids, and so it hit me that we're building lasting moments with our kids, like those moments that you're talking about with your kids. We're building lasting moments with them that they'll have forever. At the same time, we're building our last moments with the previous generation. And so we are in the middle.
Yeah, we are.
And get the pleasure and pain of having to do both.
We talked about pleasure and pain, and it's so prevalent these days. I've entered this season because before it was a lot of pleasure when I was young, right? In moments, small little moments of pain, not for real. And then I reached this new position that something happens when your parents transition, where you elevate. Now you're like, I'm not the elder yet, but you rise, and it's like you look around like, oh, that's me now. I got to do the family reunion. I'm Unc. You know what I'm saying? And it dawned on me that like the responsibilities and the position's different, so the posture has to be different. You know, and I kind of was like, do I need to take my earrings out? Posture. Do I need to do I need to like look a little more my age, put on some dad jeans or something? But that's a wow, that's a sentence. But the fact that the joy and the pain exist together, and you have to navigate that. Because what are you going to choose? Are you going to choose the joy, or are you going to choose the pain? And I think
it's not a choice.
It's not a choice, man. You have to learn to be joyful in the pain. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Joy and pain. I
Yes,
won't
shout
sing
out
the
to
song,
Frankie
you know
Beverly,
it.
man.
Exactly.
So listen, Vince, listen, you gave us a lot of knowledge. We're super excited you showed up, joined us on this
Hey, good to
incredible
be here,
journey.
Man, it's
for
an
the Quiet
incredible
Truth.
conversation,
You
man.
dropped a bunch of pearls on us. I feel like you guys connected your kindred spirits now. And
I
Yeah.
love the
Yeah.
process. You put the guest right in the middle.
Yeah.
It's no script, no brief.
script, no brief,
Hey,
man.
let's
Just
just
pull
talk.
up.
So yeah, pull up and
Pull
talk.
up
So
and let's just talk about the things that are on our mind and just go from there with some level of love and respect, frankly, about all of it. So thanks again,
right.
Vince. And so this was
The Quiet Truth.
All right.